Alright, what's up, Dragon Brood? In this video, we're going to be looking at the green cards from Lost Caverns of Ixalan, and there's going to be a lot of good ones, but we're looking at mostly just the rares and mythics here, and we're just saying what we think about them, and kind of our initial reactions, and what we think they can do in Standard. So, let's get to it, and look at some cards. So we have Bedrock Tortoise, a 4-mana turtle that's a 0/6. As long as it's our turn, creatures you control have hexproof. That's kind of nice. And then each creature you control with toughness greater than its power assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. So it has butt fight. All right, cool. I mean, this is okay. I mean, it's technically like a 6/6 for 4, which is pretty cool. Kind of sad it's not a turtle dinosaur. I think if it was a turtle dinosaur, I'd be more into it, and there'd be a sweet card for the dinosaur decks. Otherwise, it's kind of looking to be in those like decks full of walls and big toughness creatures to do their things. I mean, we have several over the years, some that get played in different formats that like this fits there, obviously. But I will admit, giving your cards hexproof on your turn is a worthwhile ability that's at least worth considering. And even if you're just playing an aggro deck of some kind, say Gruul aggro or something, this is effectively a 4-mana 6/6. I mean, that's still a thing. You know what I mean? Like, can't really be upset at it, and it's only 1 green in its cost. So it's very easy to cast, splashable into a lot of different decks, potentially works with other cards that have bigger toughness. I mean, there's probably going to be several. Sadly, also works with Shieldred. Kind of a cool card. This is the type of card that might get overlooked a lot because people are going to like, oh, it's a 0/6, whatever. But it's technically a 6/6 because of its own ability. That has an upside to making yourself hexproof when it's your turn, which is great because it means your opponent has to commit to killing stuff or whatever before you get to an attack or whatever. So yeah, this is pretty cool. It's a type of card you kind of want to dismiss initially, but the more I think about it, this card probably just straight up gets played. I mean, it's a 6/6 for 4. Why not? You know what I mean? Like, just go for it. All right, Cosmium Confluence, a 5-mana sorcery, but it does say choose 3. All right, you may choose the same mode more than once. Search your library for a cave. Okay, this obviously goes with the cave deck, if you will. Search your library for a cave, put it on the battlefield, tap, shuffle. Put 3 +1/+1 counters on a cave you control. It becomes in 0/0, has haste, still a land, destroy target enchantment. This feels like if you're playing the cave deck, great. But if you're not, it doesn't really do much, right? It's an expensive way to kill multiple enchantments. I mean, in a weird way, if you wanted to play this as a sideboard card against the like Selesnya enchantment deck, it's kind of brutal because you get to kill 3 things at once for 5 mana. But outside of that, I don't think this is really what you're playing. Literally, Galta Stampede Tyrant, 8 mana, 12/12, trample, Elder Dinosaur Legend, enters the battlefield, put any number of creature cards from your hand onto the battlefield. This card's silly. Like, the thing is, obviously, you want to have other cards in hand, or else the ability doesn't work. However, this card does not say when you cast it. It's when it enters the battlefield. So if it's exiled and you trick it into play with something, if it's in the graveyard and you reanimate it, if you have fight rigging, if you like any way possible you want to trick this into play, this does a ton of different things. This card is really good. Like, imagine fight rigging on 3 or 4. And you get this thing, and then you put 2 other big things into play. Like, the game's almost over on site. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you get this, a Tali, and, I don't know, Archfiend of whatever, right? The 6/6 flyer, right? That's it. Like, your opponent literally has to have Sweeper then and now or the game's over. Like, this card is silly. This card is very, very silly. But again, if you get it late, you don't really have anything in hand, it's just a 12. I say just a 12. It's a 12/12 with trample. So it is still hard to deal with. But yeah, cool card though. Cool card. I expect this card to be popular. Definitely with commander players, there's going to be a lot of fun things you could do with this. Just fun all around. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Growing Rites of Itlabak, which is a reprint. Whenever it enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You can reveal a creature card from among them, put it in your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library. Being your instep, if you control 4 or more creatures, you transform this and basically get a Gaia's Cradle. Taps for a green, or you can tap it for a green for each creature you control. So yeah, just a good card. It was already popular before. I believe it was in like the $15-ish range previously. That'll come down some, probably to about $6 or $7. But yeah, still a card people are going to be excited about. People are going to play this in different decks. It lets you get the best creature off the top. If you're playing tokens or whatever, obviously this generates a bunch of mana. Just a fun card, really. Just good, useful card. I did see this one in preview. So while I don't know most of these cards, I'm seeing for the first time. This one I did see. Hotly Poetic Poet of Unity. By the way, for people who have questioned how to say this card, this was also on the list. And I have been saying this correctly as Watley. So if you're wondering, that is how it's pronounced. Just saying. Okay, so Watley Poet of Unity, 3 mana for a 2/3. Human Warrior Bard, which is an interesting combination of creature types. Legendary, obviously. Enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Unfortunately, does not put it into play. And then you can pay 5, exile it, return it to the battlefield transformed, under opponent's control. It becomes a saga that the first chapter is create 2 3/3 dinosaurs. Chapter 2 is Roar of the Fifth People. Creatures you control have tap for red, a green, or white. Then chapter 3, search your library for a dinosaur card, reveal it, put it in your hand. Chapter 5, dinosaurs you control gain double strike and trample until end of turn. This is a very tough card to evaluate because it's kind of just a 2/3 for 3 in a lot of cases, right? Because you're not going to have the mana often to flip it when you play it. So you almost want to get this like really late. It's like a card you don't even really want to play on even like turn 5. You want to play it on turn 6+ a lot of the time. But it does let you get extra land, so that's nice. But just 2/3 for 3, If you do get it late though, the ability to flip it is just worth it on the payoff, right? You get 2 dinosaurs, you get to search for 1, which if you're that late in the game and you flip this, you can probably cast whatever you found, and then your stuff gets double strike. Now, again, because of all the spot removal and sweepers and everything we play, there's a chance the 4th chapter doesn't do anything. But the fact that you get some free creatures, get to search for a creature, lots of upside on this card. And what I've been thinking about this, even from when I first saw it, without seeing all the other dinosaurs, like, would I want to play this in some type of dinosaur deck? Which is kind of the intent, obviously. And I don't know what the answer is. I think if I'm playing some version of ramp with dinosaurs, then maybe, right? Because then there's a world where maybe I play this and I flip it and I'm in business immediately. But if not, I may not, truthfully. I don't know if it's what we're really looking for. So this was a hard one to judge. I'm going to give it the halfway thumb. It's not up, it's not down, it's just a halfway. It's a 50%er. Because I don't think this is a card, like, I will say this for the card, though. It doesn't even have to go in a dinosaur deck, right? And I think that's why I'm giving it the 50% thumb. Is it may just find a home in some other deck. That's some green, white humans or something. I don't know, I'm just like pulling something out of thin air here. But it is a human, it fits that style of deck. You get some free creatures on the backside. But ultimately, if you don't have dinosaurs, you really have 2 chapters that do nothing. Right? So it's like, if you have a 60th slot and you want to just play an extra human that can potentially get you 2 3/3s, all right, maybe. But yeah, I don't know. Feels like a lot of work to not get a lot out of it, unfortunately. Hulking Raptor. 2 colorless, red, for a 5/3 with ward. All right, you got my attention. At the beginning of your pre-combat phase, add green. You know what's funny? You know how you kind of read ahead? I was expecting this was going to be pay 2 green during your next turn. This is A 5/3 for 4 with ward and just gives you extra mana. Now, I will admit, 3 toughness is fragile, right? So you're not going to necessarily get to just run this errantly into stuff. It is hard to kill with the ward 2. And you get 2 extra mana. So if you have 4 mana to play this, you have at least 6 going into your next turn. Possibly 7 if you play a land. This could make it very easy to play a lot of those bigger dinosaurs. This one's going to come down to what the construction of the rest of the deck looks like, right? Do you have stuff that can use 6, 7 mana? If so, then this probably can make the cut in some non-dinosaur decks because it's non-conditional mana. You don't have to spend it on creatures or artifacts or whatever. So just a deck that needs more mana could take advantage of this, honestly. This is kind of cool. It's a weird card in a way, but neat nonetheless. So yeah, I think this is one that's going to get some play. But how much play, I think, is going to come down to what the rest of the format looks like. Colorless and a green for a 2/2. Human Druid, tap, add 1 mana of any color. That's always nice. Exile target card from a graveyard. Also really nice. You can cast dinosaur creature spells from among cards you own exiled with this card. If you cast a spell this way, that creature enters the battlefield with finality counter. Oh, okay, I see what we're doing. So it's a 2/2 for 2. You tap for any color mana. You can exile a card from any graveyard, but if you exile some of your own dinosaurs, you can now play your dinosaurs out of the graveyard. Yeah, this is fine. I think this is just a decent card and also gives you the option of ramping up to your dinosaurs with the mana. It can be played in any deck because it gives you any color mana. So if you want to play it in a human-based deck, possible. Especially if you're playing like Naya humans and you think your colors might be an issue. That's a real thing. And just getting to replay dinosaurs is cool. So yeah. Just a quality card, really. I mean, there's not a lot to say about this one other than it's a good mana creature with significant upside. Like, even if you're just using it as a card to remove an opponent's graveyard, right? You remove all those reanimator type effects or whatever. You just get rid of all those. Your opponent has underdogs. You can get rid of those. There's like lots of cool stuff you can do with this. It's like, yeah, I'm into this. Let's see. Q says, let you steal opponent's dinos if you exile them. That's true. It says any dinosaurs that you've exiled with that ability. So, yeah. Oh, no. It just says, oh, no, it says among the cards you own that are exiled, not your opponents. So it does actually turn that off. So you don't get to do that. Close, though. It has just a couple of words in there that make it where we can't do that. Jade Light Spelunker. 1/1 for 1, but it does have an X in the cost. It's a Merfolk Scout. When it enters the battlefield, it explores X times. To have it explore, you reveal the top card of your library. Put that card into your hand if it's a land. Otherwise, you put a +1/+1 counter on the creature, and then you put the card back or put it on the bottom or put it in your graveyard. I don't know how I feel about this. This feels. I mean, we know the Merfolk decks are going to be blue-green, some version of that. I guess if you're playing something that wants to explore, then you definitely play this card, right? Because there's some stuff that like, each time a card explores, something happens. If you're playing that type of deck, then yeah, this card's automatically going to be something you play. Likely could still come into play, be like I don't know, you play it late game for 3 or 4, maybe it's like a 2/2 or a 3/3. So it's like not a bad thing. It's all right, though. I think for the decks that want it, this card's very good. You have to be really playing to take advantage of the... I would think, at least right now, trying to take advantage of the Explore ability. If you're not, then it's kind of just an okay card. Because it doesn't even... If you think about it, it doesn't even necessarily scale 100% correctly. Because if you pay, say, 5, you're not automatically getting a 5/5 creature. You could be getting like a 2/2 creature and some lands in your hand. Which is fine. You know, nothing wrong with that, but possible. Or your top card could be a non-land, and then you just scry 4 times, and you do get a 5/5 or whatever, right? So, I mean, it's a weird card. It's a weird card, but it's probably a lot better than I'm giving it credit for right now. Oh, again, another one of these, as our pronunciation guide has taught us, is Oare. But Oare Kazlim. Deepest Growth. 5 mana, 6/7 legendary god with trample. When it deals combat damage to a player, you reveal that many cards from the top of your library. You may put a creature card and or land card from among them onto the battlefield, put the rest on the bottom in a random order. Wow. Whenever this dies, return to the battlefield tapped and... Okay, first off, 5 mana for a 6/5 trampler, fine. But if it connects, you just get to look at cards from the top of your library, and then any creature or land you just get to put into play. I mean, you get one creature and one land, but like, still, that's cool. The backside, though, is tap for a green, or you pay 3 and tap it, transform this, activate only if 10 or more permanents. Oh, actually, if you control 10 or more permanents, and as a sorcery. All right, so it may be hard to flip this back over. You're kind of just connecting once, but even if you don't get to flip it, like, this is still good. Like, just a 6/5 trampler is a real thing to deal with for 5 mana. Like, I think, though, this is where, like, 3-year standard becomes a little bit of a problem, right? Because as good as this ability is, there's going to be decks where you have to make a decision of, like, are you going to play this, or do you want to play, like, the green Defiler? Because it's a 6/6, also with trample, but then could make other stuff cheaper and pump all your stuff, right? So this is where, as we get more and more sets in standard, some cards that are really good still may get pushed to the wayside because they don't do necessarily enough, or the thing they do may not be as good for the meta as the other thing, or whatever. So, while I do like this ability, and I think it's pretty sweet, and I think this is going to be a Commander All-Star for a lot of people, I don't know about 60 card. I think it's really cool, but realistically, probably we're not going to see a lot of this card, I don't think. However, if there was a card that helps mono green out, getting free creatures and lands is really good. Sentinel of the Nameless City. 3 mana, 3/4. Merfolk Warrior Scout that has Vigilance. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, you create a map token. Maps are, you can pay 1, tap and sacrifice them, target creature you control explores. This seems quality. I mean, it's a 3/4 for 3 with Vigilance. Easy splashable card. It's a sizable body. You get map tokens, so you can just crack those at any time. There's some stuff that cares about map tokens. There's some stuff that cares about stuff going to the graveyard. There's stuff that cares about artifacts entering the battlefield, so this works with all of those things. Obviously, stuff that explores. So yeah, this can fit into a lot of decks. There are a lot of decks that would want the abilities this card is producing. So yeah, this one's pretty cool. Very, I don't know, inconspicuous, I guess is the word I would say for this card. But, you know, 3/4 for 3 seems solid with Vigilance and huge significant upside. Are we excited about this? 3 mana, 6/6. Let's see. It's Pugnacious Hammerskull. It's a dinosaur. Bonus. Whenever it attacks, if you don't control another dinosaur, put a stun counter on it. Yeah, this damn thing's just a boss. Like, I mean, it's just a 6. Like, even if you just only get to attack every other turn. Like, it's a 6/6. That's fine for 3 mana. Sure. Like, understand that right now, you could build a deck, which I'll probably do, that plays this on 3 and the turtle on 4. And your opponent's effectively staring at 2 6/6 creatures on turn 3 and turn 4. That's kind of wild. And all of these also work with fight rigging very easily. Like, we can almost do mono green fight rigging right now. Like, we almost don't, like, admittedly, you get some other cool cards from the other colors, so you probably want to still have the other colors. But just saying, it's possible you could do it in mono green. So yeah, random, but this thing's big as hell. We have the Skull Spore Nexus. Well, I guess, of course, every color is going to have an artifact that does a thing, right? So, 8 mana. This spell costs X less to cast, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Okay. That makes it a lot easier. Whenever 1 or more non-token creatures you control die, create a green fungus dinosaur creature token with base power and toughness equal to the total power of those creatures. Nice. You can pay 2 and tap it, double target creature's power until the end of turn. Right? Like, what? I was waiting for like the other shoe to drop. Like, and how much do we have to pay to flip this thing or whatever? That's it. So it's some amount less to cast, equal to whatever the biggest creature's power is you have. So let's say generally maybe it's a 4/4. So like this is going to cost you like 4 to cast. And then when you have a creature die, you make a fungus token that's equal to the power of the things that died. Which is, let's say, whenever 1 or more. So yeah, so if you have multiple things die in a combat, let's say a 3/3 and a 2/2, then the fungus comes back as a 5/5. This is kind of cool. And then if you have something that tramples or whatever, just doubling the power until end of turn is actually super sweet, obviously. I will be trying to find a home for this card. This is just kind of cool. This is neat. I got nothing to complain about this card. This one also gets a thumbs up. This could be hard to fight against, though, to be honest. Like, if your opponent has some, even if you're, yeah, it says non-token, so that's good. I was just, like, I missed that part. So yeah, that's actually really good, because it doesn't get too out of hand. You can't just keep, like, cycling tokens. But yeah, this could be a good one. That's going to do it for this video, but if you want to check out more cards from Lost Caverns of Ixalan, check out one of these next videos. But that's all I have for you for now. We'll catch you next time.